Okay, so here we are for post game number 11, and Rutgers has unfortunately they are now on a slide, Richie, that we feared would happen once again. As they are now 6-5, and if they lose next week to Maryland, they'll be 6-6 and end their season on a long losing streak. So one more to go. No marquee big wins this year for the program, and another game though that was actually there for the taking, but they just couldn't take it.
Yeah, no. I mean, if you watched the game, you probably could have wrote the script beforehand. It was basically essentially the same thing as last week. Just a lot of shitty offense for both teams, and then eventually one pulls away because someone's defense is on the field for way too long. Rutgers couldn't get anything going with the run game. The pass game was a little bit alive, but it wasn't alive enough to the point where they could really do much of anything. There was a couple chunk plays here and there to Ian Strong, Isaiah Washington, Jaquay Jackson even had a couple, or I think actually just a one. But yeah, no, they just, again, this offense is anemic at times, and it drives me personally up a wall just to watch, and I'm sure it drives the fan base too up a wall. So very ugly performance, and they haven't scored in Happy Valley since '94. That's like I was like not even 1 year old yet. I was like 6 months old, and it's the last time Rutgers scored a touchdown in State College, Happy Valley, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and the thing was too, at the beginning of the game, uh, which is a little unusual for Gavin, is he actually came out looking pretty good,
Yeah.
and it was like, okay, this is nice, and then they kind of went away from it
Mm-hmm.
for like a quarter, and it just seemed that even though he looked like he was on for once in a while, that they had their game plan, and they were going to stick with it. And
Mm-hmm.
even if he's on today, we're not going to pass the ball more to see if we can now take advantage of the fact that he seems to be on a little bit with his passing today. And I wonder about uh, Casey's done a pretty good job this year. We know
Mm-hmm.
we've gone over it, but as Mike even said last week, you ripped the coaching staff, and I think this is another situation with the coaching staff offensively where they're just not showing any sort of creativity. They're not changing on the fly. It's like, all right, this is what we got to do. We're just going to run the ball and run the ball and run the ball and run the ball, pass when we have to, and that's it. And we got to punt and field position. And I don't know what's going to happen, Rich, when they get a quarterback and when they do start to look more like a credible offensive team. Does Casey know how to run an offense like that?
I think so, but then again, it's hard to say because if you look back at his time in Minnesota, even when he had Tanner Morgan, who was pretty damn accurate according to his numbers, they still ran the ball 40 times a game, and it's kind of just his MO at this point. I
How
know
long
he
was he there for?
struggled at Minnesota. He was technically there. I think it was 2 or 3 years. Then he took a gap year because he went to Penn State and then came back to Minnesota.
Okay. Was he there
Uh,
when Bateman was there? Do you know?
yes, I believe so.
So, okay, because that was like their best year. That was the
Yeah.
year where they had a passing game. They had two good receivers, Bateman obviously being one of them.
Mhm.
So I guess that's good to know that. Yeah, I guess when the time comes, he'll know how to open it up.
I'm sorry, it was 2 gap years. So 27 to 2019, he was Minnesota. 2020, Penn State. 2021, he was a volunteer at West Virginia. And then 2022 went right back to Minnesota.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Try to,
I believe that was Rashad Bateman's, one of his years at least, if not multiple years. But yeah, no, quarterback play. I can't blame the quarterback too much, although the fumble was inexcusable, like
Yep.
the handoff fumble, whatever you want to call it. He struggles with those mesh runs. It's just, I don't know. And I asked Shiano this on Monday. I said, does Gavin Hall have the autonomy? Because he ran, 3 times against Iowa? Does he have the autonomy to tuck and run if he
Yes.
wants to? And he's kind of dodged the question a little bit and then went on a little bit of a rant about how 6-3. If I told you we're 6-3 right now, Iowa game 6-0 going into the third, fourth quarter, whatever. He dodged it completely, but it's just he just I don't know what it is. They gave him the autonomy to run, I guess, today, and he didn't work. There was just fumble there. There was an interception later on in the game that really just sealed the deal. So I don't want to put it all on Gavin,
No,
but
not today. No.
it's partially his fault too, though.
Well, we're
But
used to it. So.
Yeah, I would say the offensive line struggled, and that's also a coaching error, because when your best right tackle or your best option at tackle is a guy who almost medically retired 3 to 4 months ago, that's a problem.
And when you got him on an island against a potential first-round draft pick.
Yeah, that's not helping either. Chop Robinson moved. He rotated both sides. They knew he wasn't going to do much against Holland Pierce, so they said, screw it, put him that side. And that's honestly, as a NFL guy, you could admit to this too, I'm sure, that watching him go both sides and being able to do that much damage on both sides, it's super impressive.
Yeah, sure. And again, I think that's a coaching fault because the game was still at hand. It was midfield, down a score, starting to move it again a little bit, sack, fumble, game over basically. And you can't have that happen. By the way, the big season for Minnesota was 2019.
Okay, so he was there, I believe.
Okay,
yeah,
that's when Tanner Morgan had a 30-7 ratio, and he had Tyler Johnson and Rashad Bateman. Both of them went over 1,200 yards, combining for 24 touchdowns.
Yeah, so there's
your
proof. You can do it.
Yes,
it's just a matter of finding that accurate quarterback. Like right now, you have a quarterback that's throwing 45% on the year. Something like that. I think Tanner Morgan's career numbers were something like in the high 50s, maybe even the 60s at some point. He was insanely accurate, and he was kind of a nobody. 62.2% for Tanner Morgan, and he didn't have an arm really. He had like an okay arm, but he was accurate, and that's all that mattered.
Yep.
So I think you got to do something this offseason, and we said it last pod. We'll say it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't blame Wimsatt too much this week.
Yeah.
It is what it is, but the run game couldn't get much going. And we know Kyle Monangai is not 100% healthy, and I think that plays a factor too. He's on the questionable report every week, and he's still the best running back. Because Sam Brown is non-existent at this point. I don't know what he does out there. He's whiffing on blocks. I think it was the one fumble, actually, he whiffed on.
What about Benjamin? I mean,
they used him in the fourth quarter with 2 plays left, and that was it.
Yeah, and they got Young. It's like if you don't want to go to Brown, go to Young, go to Benjamin. But I wouldn't go to Monangai unless he's 100% more than just maybe a handful of carries, or maybe you get into the red zone. But yeah, it is what it is, and it was frustrating again because the game was there. It was there, but not that at any time were we thinking that they were going to win.
No,
but that's only because of the fact that we're just waiting for the shoe to drop, or waiting for something like the strip sack to happen. And I wonder if that's how they feel as well. You have confidence, and I don't think they have that right now. They rely too much on their defense, and I get it. It's a good defense. It's a great defense at times, but when you put them on the field for, again, 60-70% of the game, do you see what happens? The first 3 quarters, they're doing as much as they can. They're holding this team to 10 points or 13 points at the end of third. And then all of a sudden the fourth quarter opens up and it's like, boom, touchdown, boom, touchdown. It's like they're fucking tired. I don't blame them one bit. There's really not much you can do. They got the starting quarterback out of the game, which seems like an injury. They got a fumble recovered. I think it was, who the hell forced the fumble? I think it was Loyal.
It was Loyal forced it, and then Mayan recovered it. Yeah. So they got to him. Like, it wasn't, I know they didn't get any sacks technically, but they were still able to force turnovers, hold the defense or hold the offense to like little to nothing. And then that fourth quarter, they came and erupted, and that was it. And that was game over. So it's a shame.
Taking a look at how it all started, they get the 3-and-out, which was nice right away. As we know, they've had a lot of problems with those first series, but they get the 3-and-out. And then all of a sudden, it's like, wait a second, there's a nice pass and catch to Washington for first down. And then they run the 3rd down and 10 Wimsatt run for 22. In between, they get the Jackson catch for 16. They get down to the Penn State 23. And then they run the same play with Wimsatt on 3rd and 6. And he gets it down to the 8 after a 12-yard run. And then, as typical Rutgers fashion, when it looks like they're about to be 3rd and 1 at the 1, they get called. Well, Sutton gets called for the holding call. And they got called for holding twice. Both times they get inside the 10-yard line. I think the only 2 times they got inside the 10-yard line today, they get a holding call.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how that works.
And you knew they were done at that point because there was no way that they were going to score a touchdown, almost at the 20-yard line with only 2 downs to go. So
how you get that close and just can't punch it in once, just once, it's bad. And that's on coaching. That's on play calling because, I mean, at the end of the day, these guys are doing as much as they can. I don't know. It's just the run. Like I said, the run game wasn't there today. It had its moments, I guess, if you want to count Wimsatt's runs. But for the most part, the run game was non-existent. And like you just said before, what did Wimsatt have? He had a 22-yard run and an 11-yard run.
Yes.
He had 31 on the day.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
And I know
Penn State figured it out, and then that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's they stacked the box, and that was it. They just kind of like, all right, they literally cannot throw. I thought you were. It's probably like I could picture them on the mic right now on the sideline, like, oh, they really can't throw. Screw it, send it.
Sure. And even let them. If they can't, they complete a few passes. Let them. I mean, they have to run. Rutgers has to run to be successful, no matter what. I mean, he is not gonna. What is Wimsatt's best game, by the way? Has he? Does he have a 200-yard? He has to have a 200.
Oh, he does. Yeah.
Game, right?
If it wasn't this year, it was last year. I know he had one really good game last year. I want to say actually against Minnesota, if I recall correctly. But he does have a couple good games. This year, Michigan State, he threw for 236. In that big comeback win, he threw for 198 versus Temple this year. And those are the only two that are like 200 or close to that 200 mark. There's a couple 180s, 160s, and then just it's disgusting.
And then
need a quarterback.
And then what happens is when Penn State gets the ball and comes back down, and they get inside the red zone, inside the 10-yard line, they have the 1st and goal. There's a penalty called, but no, it's on Rutgers. And it gives Penn State another 1st down. So both penalties inside the 10-yard line go against Rutgers, one on offense, one on defense. One results in them kicking a field goal. The other results in Penn State scoring a touchdown. And I don't know. I mean, I actually thought the pass interference by Igbinosun was a bad call, and I thought that Rogers got away with that pass interference on the one they didn't call.
Yeah,
which came
he
after.
Got burnt on that one, actually, Rogers, and I give him credit because I mean I thought it was a good play overall. I didn't think it was pass interference on that one, but I thought he just made a really good play, and he caught up to that receiver.
Oh, you're talking about the pass and the deep pass on the pass. That was
he threw his hands up, and that was just beautiful for Rogers.
That was a good one.
I thought he had a great game. And he's going to have to step up next year because he's probably cornerback 2 because I don't think Melton comes back, but who knows?
Who knows?
And then, the Igbinosun one, the ruling is technically it has to be catchable, correct? I don't think that was catchable.
No way was that guy going to catch that football.
Yeah, that was a questionable one. And it's just, I know everyone wants to blame the refs, but you can't blame the refs for everything. But that one was a bad call. But there's bad calls every game on both sides, I'm sure. Maybe not today. Maybe it was a little one-sided today. But, not a good game. And the false starts, the holding, offensive line, like what there's an infraction on the center at one point, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. I got to tell you, though, I'm not surprised the offensive line gets called for motion penalties because of how long they have to sit there all the time and wait for the play to go. It's got to be like a lot of patience you have to have and control. Anyway, so Penn State took advantage of those penalties. They went up 10-3, and then Rutgers decided once again, hey, it worked a couple of times. It's 3rd and long. Let's run Wimsatt again.
Was that the 3rd and 22?
No, that was like the 3rd and 10 or something. You got 7 or 8 or something, and then they punted. But that was at the point where I was like, come on. I mean, the guy is actually throwing the ball on time. He looks confident throwing it. You have to toss away your pregame philosophy when you see the guy actually looking like maybe he's going to have a good day passing the football. So pass the football on this. And I understand they got away with it at a couple of running 3rd and longs, but that's just not going to – you just can't keep doing that.
Yeah, and I think that was the one where it was 3rd and 9,
yes,
I think.
Yes.
And he got to 8 yards, and it looked like they probably were going to go for it. and then all of a sudden false start, and it's
Motion.
like, all right, cool, let's bring it back.
Yep.
So,
and then they had the strip fumble by Loyal with a little bit of time left to go in the first half, and once again on 3rd and 3, they decided to run Wimsatt. He didn't get anything. And then taking a look at Penn State, they weren't able to do much. But then Rutgers, the drive that resulted in the field goal at the end of the half, it's like, okay, well, Dremel, he was able to get 15. He was wide open, but it still was a nice pass. You had the high catch by Strong for 15. You had the catch for Strong by 10. He fumbles the ball, but shows the physical determination to get the ball back. Very fortunate there. And then 1st and goal at the 7, and then we had the holding call again. Zelensky.
Yeah, I'm looking now. 4 of 5 third downs in the first half. No, I'm sorry. Is it 4 or 5? No, 5 of 6 first downs in the first half, or third downs in the first half. They ran with Gavin Wimsatt.
Yeah.
Yep. I didn't even realize. I knew they were running the ball a ton, but I didn't realize it was every single third down.
Yeah, because the first couple worked, so they kept doing it. And so it resulted in a field goal. But did you notice the time, and it was just before the end of the half on that drive, where there's like 5 seconds left on the clock, 4 seconds, and Wimsatt decides to go try to change the call at the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're looking at the clock. It's like I don't even know how we got the playoff without being him and the running back not like being set. But those are the things that just drive you crazy. It's like, what are you doing trying to change the play call with less than 5 seconds to go? It just whatever. And then that's the kind of thing you do inside the red zone that screws things up. And he had to settle for the field goal, but it was only 10-6 at half. And you figured, all right, well, Penn State, they're going to come out and they're going to probably ram it down our throats. But Flip Dixon KO'd Alar. And
yes.
As soon as that happened, the backup came in and ran for 40.
Yeah. And I mean, you got to know immediately, like, even if you don't really follow Penn State, the backup's a totally different player. The backup's more like a Trace McSorley type. And I say that not just because the number is number 9 still, but he's just mobile as hell. Like, you got to know he's the more mobile of the two, and they're going to run with him. And it's not to say similar skill set to Wimsatt, but kind of similar-ish.
Yeah,
but just with a better. They didn't let him throw really at all until what, like late in the third, early fourth, whatever it was. Yeah. And even then, it was like a 2-yard dump off to a tight end. So
they were doing the same philosophy Shiano would have done if he was in that spot. Let me just rely on my defense.
Yeah, I don't know how they let that happen, but that was a big chunk gain for him. And they go down the field, and they get a field goal on that.
They got a field goal. Actually, no, they got the big stop on 4th.
Oh, that's what it was. Yes.
But they went nowhere. The punt was weak, and then they got the field goal. So they get points out of that drive anyway by going for it and getting stopped. And it just shows you too. I mean, they had their punter in the end zone, and Rutgers winds up with the ball at their own 40. Mm-hmm. We have the punt in our own end zone. Penn State gets the ball at our 40, and they kick a field goal. Yeah, those are the little things.
Ugly punting today.
Yeah, those are the little things. Those that we couldn't, that cost you points. And then on 3rd and 10, Wimsatt had that low throw, nice catch by Washington, picked up a first down, went back to Washington again, picking up another first down on a 2nd down, and then that's when everything ended with the Robinson strip sack, and led to the touchdown, and that was pretty much all game. I mean, nice drive to come back until the Wimsatt had an interception, though, but that was it.
Yeah, you could see like they literally didn't throw the ball. They had the same game plan for the most part with their backup in, and you couldn't stop it. And I think that 4th quarter, like I said, guys were gassed beyond belief. And you saw them start to fall in like flies. You see this guy down. Deion Jennings went down twice today. Flip Dixon looked gassed. Max Melton looked tired. Trying to think who else. There's someone else. The defensive line was getting pushed around because they're out there every goddamn play.
Yeah.
So
that's why you get in these situations in these games. If you ever notice, viewers out there, if you guys ever notice, you'll see these, like for instance, like New Mexico State Auburn today. New Mexico State might decide to, and I don't know if they did, but they might decide to keep their quarterback out, who was a little banged up in his entire offense, because why go into that game, get beat up, because the bigger game is their Conference USA Championship game that's coming up in a week or two. And that's what happens to even Rutgers, just like you were saying, you play really good teams that are a lot better than you, and you don't want your best players getting beat up. So the next time you go out there in a game that you have a chance of winning, you don't have your key players healthy or where you need them to be to win those types of games. But hey, that's just Rutgers football. They're always going to try hard. They're not going to give up. They're going to play their best guys as best as possible and hope they can steal wins. But just like Coach has been saying at these press conferences, they're just not ready yet.
Yeah, it is. It is what it is. And I don't know if I know the schedule gets a lot easier next year based on at least what it was previously. You don't have the big three on your schedule from the Big Ten East, so that's nice. But it's still the Big Ten. You're still playing some tough teams, UCLA, USC. I forget who else. I think Washington's on there too.
Where are we going? We have any good trips? We have any cool, one of those California trips?
I think USC's out there, or UCLA. I believe it's USC. I'll pop it up real quick. Next year, they open up with Howard. That's a cool one. Akron.
Well, they're actually better, aren't they, Howard? They're actually a better team now.
I don't know if it really
They
matters,
used to be they're like a real high school team, but at least now they're actually a real FCS team.
Yeah. Then Akron is game 2, which is interesting because Akron's head coach might not be there next year. He might be over on the other sideline of today's game. He might be the OC next year. So
yeah, maybe.
Virginia Tech has a pretty cool atmosphere, so that would be a cool one to go to. Washington's home, away, Nebraska. I think people have done that already. Some people at least. USC away. Maryland away, and East Lansing, Michigan for Michigan State.
So USC is the big one.
Yes,
nice.
Coliseum. So that'd be pretty.
There you go. Yeah, that'll be kind of cool. I don't want to see Gavin Wims out in the Coliseum, though. I'll tell you that much.
I know. Yeah, Jesus. We do have our first donation of the night from Jordan. He said, "I'm not a Wimset advocate, but I challenge any quarterback to come and win with this sorry-ass game plan. They play to survive and not to get blown out. It's sad." I think he's pretty spot on there. It's Greg Schiano football. If I can get up a score or 7-0 and run out the clock, I'm going to do it. And that's basically that's been the MO all season long. So it really hasn't changed there. It's just that's what they prefer to do, and I get it. But like we just said before, Kirk Straka has had offenses where if you have a talented quarterback, you can make some plays and make some moves and get talented wide receivers. And I know everyone wants to blame the wide receiver group for just not being there this year.
No.
But like Ian Strong, look at him today. Like, I mean, not just today, but this season, all season long. Like we saw him in the beginning of the year, had a great toe tap catch in a corner of the end zone. We didn't see him for the next 3 to 4 games. Then we see him again, and he starts making some noise again. And it's like, holy shit! Like maybe this guy should be playing.
He looked good today.
Yeah, and Jaquay Jackson, who I think's been pretty good, but again, I hate to say it, it all comes down to the quarterback at the end of the day. If you can't hit your receivers in stride, I say that in emphasis because look at last week. He got Jaquay Jackson knocked out for the game. He got Christian Dremel diving for catches and shit for like 6 yards. And it's like, you got to get a new quarterback. I'm adamant about this now because it's pissing me off to watch the same quarterback play every week because he's not good. I'm sorry. He's great dual threat. That's fine. He's mobile as shit. He's athletic as hell. He's got no accuracy. When you don't have, like, today he was better, I will admit. But, like, it was just, it's bad. Like, I don't know what you do. And today I blame more on the offensive line than him. So I'm not going to blame Wimstead too much today. I'm not going to harp on that one. But the play calling and the offensive line today was just, it was ugly.
And I would like to, it would be nice because there's only 2 games left. So it would be nice. And maybe it's the bowl game. But I'd like to see them open. Why not just open it up a little bit? I mean, come on. You don't have anything to lose. Nobody cares one way or another if you win this game. Maybe look, if you just want to win the bowl game to win the bowl game, fine, and do what you have to do. But in the Maryland game, just nobody cares. Just go out there and just why don't you throw the ball a little bit? Why don't we see what he's got? You know, put it on his shoulders. Why not? What do you got to lose?
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree. I think you have to open some things up, but it's the last game of the season. You think you would have done that by now. I know sometimes, like early season, when you play the Howards and Akrons of the world, you kind of like, all right, screw it. I'm going very vanilla. I'm getting my 100 yards rushing. I might get a 180 yards passing, and that's about it. Like, I'm not going to go nuts and open up the playbook. And then week 3 or week 4, whoever I'm going to play then I'll open up the playbook. But now it's like, it's week, what, 12? And the playbook's still the same playbook it was from week 1. So it drives me nuts. It drives me up the wall a little bit, but
let's see. So last year he had the 236-yard game against Michigan State on the road. In 2021, well, he didn't play much. So really, if you look at it, he's only had one game in his career where he's thrown the ball over 200 yards, which was that Michigan State game last year. One game over 200 yards. This year, so he's got, 1356 coming into the game today. And what's that an average of? See, 1356, 10. Oh, it's easy. So it's 135 a game coming into the game today. 135 passing yards a game. You know, I was watching some of the clips because I had to do it. I was like, after the show last week, I was like, I got to see some more of that AJ Serace, so some more of his clips that I
he's good.
Since,
he's really good.
You know, since he declared. And I was like, yeah, that's right. This is what I remember. I was like, I'm looking at it and I'm going, yeah, so why not? Why can't this guy start as a freshman? Come on, man. I know high school clips can be misleading sometimes, but it's just like you just see something in him that, especially he's got the size, you just think that, you know what? Why can't he start as a freshman?
It's tough. Like it's like a confidence thing too. Like if you throw him out there and he gets killed by like Ohio State, a la like Art Sikowski did, your confidence is shot for the rest of your career. It's tough. So I don't want to put him out there right away. I do think I would love, and I the most ideal scenario, and I've been pretty adamant about this one, is to get a transfer, get a stopgap, get a guy that can come in for a year, push Wimsett while also probably competing for the job, maybe even winning the job. I know it's hard to get a guy that could do all that because most of these transfers come in and they ask, hey, am I starting if I'm coming in? And it's like, I'm not going there if I can't start. So it's going to have to be a guy that wants to start. So I would try to get a starting quarterback. The issue is you probably lose Wimsett if this guy is the starting quarterback. And is that the worst thing in the world? I don't know. I'm looking way too far ahead right now because Serace is coming in. Ideally you want to redshirt him, but I don't know. I just don't think Wimsett's a good quarterback, and he's struggled. He's just struggled to throw the ball all season long, and nothing's really changed. Because this is a 6-win team, and they did exceed expectations. But like we said last week, expectations can change mid-season. You have 6 wins, 3-4 weeks ago?
Yes.
And you should have beat Wisconsin. You
could have beat Ohio State.
That's the crazy thing and I'm kind of like on board with that because I really think they could have beat Ohio State that game. This is the only chance you probably had to beat Ohio State because they look so bad this year. But they're still number 1, so go figure. This was your best shot at beating them, and then you go against Iowa. Who knows what happens? You score a touchdown, you're up in the fourth. You score 1 touchdown in the first 3 quarters of that game. Yeah, right. You're up going into the fourth quarter. 1 touchdown. That's it. That's all I'm asking. Wow. And now you're 8 straight quarters without one.
It's bad. It's a time period as a Jet Rutgers fan that I can't believe I'm going through. But
I have to watch the Giants, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah, it's the same. So, but here's the other thing too, and I don't understand why. I mentioned this to you guys off the air because I on Sunday I emailed you. I watched the Duke North Carolina game last week, and Grayson Loftus looked really bad coming in as a third stringer the week before against Wake, and they still won. And then I was like, but this guy he didn't look good at all. He's a third stringer. He's a freshman. So you would think that North Carolina is going to steamroll him. And the kid goes out there as a freshman, as a third stringer for Duke, and looks better than I've ever seen Gavin Wimsatt look as far as a passer. So what I don't understand is that why can't we find more quarterbacks? I don't understand it. Why do we have one guy for the last 2 or 3 years? What is it with the recruiting the quarterback room that they can't? This is the Big Ten. That's Duke, for crying out loud. What the hell does Duke football have any sort of relevancy? And they found 3 quarterbacks, and we can't find barely one. That's the thing that drives me crazy.
I think it's a combination of things. I think number one, New Jersey quarterbacks as a whole really haven't produced at the college level, and I think that's a big issue in its own right. You can debate the reasons why. Arguably, the most successful recent one, and this is saying something. It's probably Tommy DeVito, and that's whatever, sure, great. Like, there hasn't really been a good New Jersey quarterback for some time. Like, Jonathan Lewis was the top-ranked quarterback, went to Rutgers, ends up playing tight end before he's done with his career.
Yeah, wow, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Who else was in that? There was someone else too.
And we were all excited about that too.
Yeah, it's crazy. They don't really produce quarterbacks at that high of a level, and I think that plays a factor because that's your bread and butter, your backyard. Like, that's where you're going to recruit the most. On top of that, if you also look, Rutgers has had 14 offensive coordinators in 13 years or something like that.
Yep.
So that's not helping things either when you're recruiting a different offense every year. When one year it's spread, next year it's pro style. For the most part, it's been boring pro styles, but then it's multiple, then it's not, and blah blah blah, and it changes every year. And each coordinator, just like at the NFL level, your new head coach is going to want his own quarterback in there. New OC is going to want his own quarterback in there. College level, they're just going to have to work with whatever they got, and it works sometimes. Gary Nova was pretty successful, and that's probably the last NJ quarterback that's been successful for both Rutgers and New Jersey. But he had his moments too where fans were booing him and telling him to get off the field, and then Ralph Friedgen comes in and turns him into a god his senior year.
Yeah, he was like Richard Todd for the Jets back in the day. I know you're young, but
I know who he is. I
grew up, and he was like a guy that 1 week he looks like Joe Namath, the next week he's throwing 4 interceptions and driving you crazy. So, but no, it's a great point, and that's why maybe what we saw this past draft recruiting cycle, where they recruited a whole bunch of out-of-state kids. Maybe that's the first good sign. And look, Wimsatt came from Kentucky, so we're just going to have to do a better job of bringing in, because look, it's nice to have Surace, but who's that guy? Got to bring in another guy in quick. Can't wait 3 years to bring in the next AJ Surace, because what happens if he gets hurt? So, we got to get that next quarterback. I mean, and right now, is there anybody on their radar as far as the 2025 or 2026 Rutgers quarterback?
So they have a 2025 commit. His name's Sean Ashenfelder. I'm not sold on him personally.
Okay.
Plays at a small school down in Florida. Actually, I shouldn't say small. It's relatively middle of the pack school down in Florida, but he's not accurate.
Oh, great.
You can kind of blame that on I know a lot of people I've talked to, they blame it on his team. And don't get me wrong, he has no receivers, he has no offensive line, so he's going to fit in this offense perfect.
Yeah.
But he's mobile. He just not the greatest numbers in the world. This year, for example, he had 21 touchdowns and 13 interceptions.
Oh,
I'm sorry, that was last year. That's his total for his career over 2 years.
Oh.
He wasn't the full-time starter last year.
Okay.
He rotated in with whoever the starter was, a senior. This year, he's got 12 touchdowns and 10 interceptions.
Oh, okay. Nice.
For a 49% completion percentage, 1,700 yards. He's ran for 580 and 13. He's ran for 13 touchdowns. So hear me out. Stop me if it sounds familiar. But a mobile quarterback that can't throw and is not accurate and can run.
So is that going to be their quarterback room in the next year or two? It's going to be what? Who's the guy that they have now? The other freshman?
Johnny Shepard, who personally I like. He's a nice kid. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't. I'd be shocked if he was ever the starting quarterback for Rutgers. That was a late flip from Old Dominion, I think it was. And don't get me wrong, he's decent. He's stocky. He's got good size, decently accurate, but he really not the best arm in the world either.
Okay.
I'm not sold on him personally, but that's just me. I mean, everyone has their opinion. Everyone has different opinions. So take
those
it.
those are your three guys for the next few
Yeah,
years. Then, and
which is why I think you have to go into portal.
Get
you
a
gotta
veteran,
just get someone. Like there's got to be a Tanner Morgan type out there, because Tanner Morgan wasn't highly recruited at all. No one really knew who he was, and there's got to be someone out there that's a quarterback's going to demand some money. I mean, that's a fact. They're going to get some NIL money no matter what. But there's got to be someone out there that could just say, "Hey, look at this situation. I can walk in there right now. They have a better offensive line. All I have to do is score them one touchdown a game, and they'll love me."
Yeah. Well,
and it's like
it's also you said though, that means Wimsat's on the outs though, which not that we don't really care, but we were talking about last week. How does that work in the community? How does that work politically?
That's the issue. That's where it gets tough. And I'm reading now, and someone brought it up, and I forgot all about this. When Wimsett was in the Elite 11, his senior year of high school, or going into his senior year, he did finish dead last in the Elite 11. And the main reason why was accuracy issues.
Big surprise.
So he hasn't fixed it from, what was it, 2021? 2021, I think he was when he enrolled, to now. I just don't know if it ever gets fixed. Like I'm in that boat of like Kyle Shanahan and like Leach and all those guys. Like I don't think you can teach accuracy at this point. I think it's got to be either taught in elementary school or whatever they do it. But I think it's got to be taught by now, and either you have it or you don't.
Yeah, or you, again, that's what I was saying about the Maryland game, is you can't shelter someone like that. It's like if you're ever going to learn how to be more accurate, it has to come with developing a rhythm. You have to have opportunities, and when you're throwing the ball, whatever, I mean, he has to have one of the lowest attempt ratios also probably in the FBS. He doesn't throw the ball a lot. That's the reason that he doesn't put up big numbers. It's not like he's like 6 for 30. The reason he doesn't have a lot of yards and so forth is because he doesn't throw the ball a lot. So, but what happens if he's able to go out there and throw the ball 10 or 15 more times a game over a course of a season, then maybe he could develop a little bit more of a refined game and maybe more accuracy. But yeah, don't do this, don't do that. Be careful of this. We're going to run here. And it's just, this isn't the place for that. If he wants to throw the ball and maybe try to develop his passing game, that's where he's got to leave. He's got to go somewhere else, go on a lower level, and somewhere where they're going to be okay with him. They're going to live with it that he's going to throw the ball 25, 30 times a game, and maybe he will be a better quarterback for it because he'll be, playing in the group of 5.
Yeah. I hate to harp on the kid so much because it wasn't his fault entirely.
It was not his fault today. No, he did not have he made a couple of bad plays, but again, the fumble and the sack, not his fault. And up until that point, he was actually having a pretty decent game besides the fumble. That was the bad one. So,
and then the pick was ugly too. But I mean,
that was long distance, and he got sacked the play before.
True. Yeah.
So, and the other thing is he doesn't have a good feel, like when he is pressured, like he can do a decent job of getting out of trouble sometimes, but it's like he'll never, like 10% of the time, maybe 5% of the time when he's on the run, will he complete a pass.
I actually have his numbers when he's pressured. It's not pretty. When he's under pressure, he is 14 of 49 for 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. So
that's pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah. That's self-explanatory.
And for a guy that doesn't have a lot of accuracy but is athletic, that's like the exact opposite. You would think that that's exactly what would play into his hands. Let's get him out of the pocket. Let's do some things, use his athletic ability. But he doesn't have the it factor. He doesn't have a feel for the passing game. And so it is.
Yeah. So what are you going to do?
But it is what it is.
Yeah, it's this one's on the I'll blame the offensive line room for the most part. They couldn't block. Right tackle's an issue, and going into next year, it's a bigger issue because you lose your right guard and right tackle in Dunlap and Sutton. So I really don't know what you do. It's gonna be interesting. And Pat Flaherty's gonna earn that contract next year.
Well, hopefully, again, Big Ten, Super Bowl ring for an offensive line coach. You would hope that you'll get a transfer, a stopgap guy.
That's the issue, though. Those are the most expensive people at
They
this
are,
point.
yeah.
So we'll
But the
see.
thing is they don't really need, a great player. They just need a body that Flaherty can develop into a better player.
Yeah. I think we can agree after today, like watching Chafani come in for Felter, who went down a couple plays. I think it was the first play he actually came in, or second play he came in for Felter. He just whiffed. He was actually helping block the defensive tackle, which was weird. And it's like, instead of crashing towards your guy, he crashed towards the tackle, and there's two guys blocking the tackle, and this guy just walks around basically, and there's a sack.
Yeah.
It was bad, but Sutton, I love. I think he has such a great story, but he just had such a bad game, like such a bad game.
There's one more to go. Well, two more, but his last home game. So I'm sure the fans will give him a big reception because he's going to deserve it. Maybe what we see in the bowl game with the extra practices, I wonder whether or not we'll see one of these. I mean, is it possible we might see some kids that we haven't seen before?
I mean, no. I've seen them in practice. It's just
they're not ready, huh? They're not big enough.
Some of them are big enough. It's just like Jacob Allen is coming off. I don't know if you've seen his picture he posted preseason or training camp.
No, I never saw that.
It was.
You told me about it though. Yeah.
Yeah, his knee scar from his knee goes from like the top of his kneecap to like the almost to his shin. Like it's just like it's a solid like 10-inch scar. He's not healthy. Trying to think.
And some of those freshmen that they recruited, they're not ready.
We saw Taj White out earlier in the season. I thought he showed flashes. Don't get me wrong. He took his lumps, but I thought he showed flashes, and I actually thought he should be the right tackle for the time being. But
maybe they should plug him out there in the bowl game. Get him out there, see what he can do.
Or something, at least in the practices, get him more reps. Dominic Rivera is a true freshman, came in. He's very raw, but he's a legit 6'80" or 6'8", like 330, something like that.
Yeah.
So they're massive dudes. Like if you look at the line, like this year compared to, I don't know, like just say 4 years ago, you're like, oh shit, this is like a Big Ten offensive line. Yeah. And then you watch them block, and it's like, never mind.
Yeah, well, at least they're big.
Yeah.
So at least
space eaters.
Space eaters. Yeah. At least they got that. They're getting there. So progress a little bit. Yeah, well, that's what the bowls are for. You hope you'll see some of these other kids get more practice time and maybe even get some game action, and I certainly hope so. I wouldn't imagine there's going to be a lot of fans at the game next week.
It's going to be weird. I guess it depends on the weather, technically, and it's senior day, so they're going to push for people to get out and come cheer on the seniors. But I mean, after not scoring for not 8 quarters, by the way, 9 quarters, because he didn't score in the fourth against Ohio State. I think it might be a little bit of a dampening crowd. Plus, I think it's Thanksgiving weekend. No, it is Thanksgiving weekend.
Thanksgiving weekend.
So most of these kids are probably going to not be there, or at least be home or whatever. So we'll see.
By the way, when would the bowl game be at the at Yankee Stadium if they go there?
Oh, December 28th. You might as well just book your stuff for that one now, because it's almost a guarantee at this point.
So there you go. They got a whole month of additional practices, and that's really nice. That's going to help.
And they're local. You get the practice. I don't know if you're allowed to practice at your home field because you're so close. I think you still have to go somewhere to practice.
Really?
Yeah. So like what they did like with Florida and what they did in previous times, like I think last time they went to the Pinstripe, they practiced at Union City High School, which they do it kind of strategically because it's like, hey, we recruit Union City, let's go practice there. Like
Union City High School. Do you know that that's where I'm from?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I grew up at 13th Street and Bergen Line in Union City, New Jersey.
Yeah. So I'm sure you've been to the roof. You've been to the roof plenty of times, I'm sure.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
So like even in Florida, like they go to a high school, they practice at a high school. So I don't know if the NCAA allows them technically to practice on their own field, because it would be kind of like, it's stupid because a field's a field at the end of the day.
Yeah,
they all do the same thing. But we'll have to see where they practice and all that. But yeah, I can almost guarantee that's going to be the game. I'm actually already working out a pregame party for one of these bars in the behind the bleachers. So working out something. Nothing set in stone yet, but just
You're talking
keep
for
your
the bowl
eyes out.
game.
Yes, for the bowl game.
Very nice.
Yeah. So keep your eyes out for that
Ignacio, did you go? Yeah, Emerson and Union Hill. Yeah, that was the rivalry. Emerson and Union Hill. Yes, I remember that. I actually had my graduation in what was that place called? That stadium over in Union City. What is it? Roosevelt? Is that what it's called? Or I forget the name of that stadium. I forget
Yeah,
what it was. I know you're not
too familiar,
but yeah, somebody knows out there where it was. Yeah, that's where I graduated. But yeah, those were the days, and it's always nice to hear when some of these kids come from Union City, like this offensive lineman. That's a nice little. I like to hear that. That's cool. But,
yeah. Sure.
All right. Anyway, enough of me blabbering about my glory days as a high school punk. I will be back with you hopefully next week to wrap up the season.
Yep.
It's been a lot of fun.
Final one.
It's been a bowl season. And you know what? I know you guys did this. No, when you did the live coverage, what was that, a couple of weeks ago? What was that exactly?
You talking about the basketball game?
No,
the Peacock game, right?
Yeah, what was that? What were you guys doing?
We used some kind of other service. I'll send it to you off the pod, but we used a service that helps us basically just stream games. They have the copyright contract or whatever it is
with the teams that you were
so not even the teams, like the TV networks. So they have deals with the TV networks that they can stream it through them. Blah blah blah. Now, Peacock technically isn't on there, so I did a little workaround. I got a little yelled at for that one, so I don't advise using the Peacock games for it. But you can. They have all the basic ones like Fox, ESPN, NBC, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
They just don't have they don't have like BTN Plus and like Peacock, all the random streaming ones. So like I would love to do it for the basketball game today at 6 p.m., but I can't because they don't have BTN Plus. So I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Again. Okay.
Yes, that's done. And another streaming service that everyone needs to pay for to watch Rutgers.
Yes. At least this time I was able to watch the highlights on YouTube, because the first game that they played, that was on BTN Plus, whatever that crappy team was, the first home game, they didn't even have it. I couldn't watch anything. I didn't even, I got nothing. But at least the last game they had, they did put that highlight, so at least I was able to watch like 30 minutes, 25 minutes of highlights, which was okay. But
they're working on figuring it out. I think the future plan is to just go straight Peacock. I think CBS is experimenting with Paramount, so we'll see what happens there. I think they ideally, from what I've read, and this is just basic readings, like this is on the internet, so it's not like insider info, but they want to do basically what Peacock does and have a streaming service. So it's eventually, I think it's all going to be streaming services one day or another. So
were you guys on video talking and doing the
game? It puts us like kind of like what you do with OBS, but they put us in like the little corner. And you could expand
the
it.
Game was on.
And you can lower, higher the game volume, lower, higher your volume, all that good stuff. So
absolutely. Yeah. So how did it go?
It went pretty well. We had I think we had a solid like 200 people like constantly watching the game, commenting all that, because I don't think anyone wanted to buy Peacock. So, and fair enough. It's another service that like most people don't want to buy. It gets tiresome when you have like 8, 9, 10, 20 services.
Yeah, and they do a lousy job too. I go into the games, if you like, for instance, if I'll go in and watch a game like that'll be on tonight and I watch it tomorrow, they have like 15 commercial breaks that you have to deal with. I was like, this is ridiculous. I don't pay for this. Why am I paying for? So it's like you can't even watch it that way. I don't understand how you have commercial breaks on a streaming service that you pay for.
It's essentially cable at this point, and they just slap a streaming on it instead.
So not a big fan, but if that's
what you can do.
If that's where you gotta go to watch Rutgers, especially football games, then whatever. Like you said, you gotta do what you gotta do.
But
all right, what time is the game next week?
3:30. So a little bit later, a little better.
Cool. Spread?
Ooh, Maryland just They actually put up a fight against Michigan, didn't they? I think they only lost by like 7. Oh, they did 7 points. I might give Maryland the edge here.
I
I'm not
would.
gonna lie. I think so. I think
They were
Maryland's
favored
got
by 2.5 at Nebraska
okay.
when they won a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and they won by 3.
3?
Yeah, I'd probably say that 3 would be pretty accurate. I think Rutgers obviously home field advantage. Maryland better offense than Rutgers clearly, but they've been down in the dumps. They're now on a 1-2. No, actually they beat Nebraska, so they've lost
5 out of 6.
5 out of 6. Wow, 5 out of 6. Yeah, but
they got the quarterback advantage big time. So,
and you're going to hear us on our podcast all week, and I'm going to be very adamant that this game needs a goddamn trophy, and I'm tired of it. If the Big Ten recognizes as a rivalry, time to sack up. Let's make a trophy. Let's do it. Someone's got to do something.
What do you? I mean, you didn't even need like a sponsorship for that, right? All you got
to
do is
you could just look.
The kids at the school, they're the ones that have got to do it, right? They're the ones. Somebody at the school.
Someone. I mean, Pat Hobbs can come out and probably suggest something like, "Hey, like I have this trophy idea. Let's do it." And I'm sure the AD of Maryland would be like, "All right, cool, let's do it." But if you look at who is it? Michigan State and Penn State. They have a trophy, the Land Grant Trophy. It's like the world's ugliest thing I've ever seen. It's just like a giant like wooden thing with a chair and a statue here and plaques, and
that's not even a rivalry.
It's apparently it is because the Big Ten has a bunch of
it's the last game of the season.
Yeah,
I know.
I think it's time they got to get a trophy going.
Iowa has like 4 of them.
Yeah, and there's like the Paul Bunyan axe. There's like a barrel or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't follow the Big Ten West as much. But the Big Ten West has like a ton of random fucking trophies that no one cares about.
That's right. So that's a good idea. But I don't know. Someone's got to come up with it. And I don't know. There's got to be like a cool little thing. I guess there's got to be something between
Turnpike.
There you go.
Throw the Turnpike sign, or maybe do you know what you do? You do the Delaware Bridge and put it on like a trophy and be like, "Hey, you get the bridge today." Like, or hey, you. But just put the state of Delaware. Make it a joke. Make it funny.
Somebody come up with it. Otherwise, it's just another game. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see. Hopefully, Mike. It will be. Well, again, it's Thursday. It is Thanksgiving. Is he around, or is he away for Thanksgiving?
For next week? Yeah. That's a good question. I haven't really talked to him. I'll have to figure that one out. I know I'll definitely be here with you next Saturday. Okay. Tuesday. I don't want to give away too much, but we have a special guest on our podcast. So very special guest. And we'll be talking a little bit about those New Jersey Mike's Arena renderings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw those pictures.
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, you got it. Yeah, I'll send them to you it's on our Twitter actually too.
Okay.
Jersey Mike's Arena. Well, Pat Hobbs sent out a survey about potential new seats for Jersey Mike's Arena, and there's a lot of potential change in those pictures. We're talking luxury seats, club seats, this, that, suites, everything. I personally like it, but some fans are a little pissed off. So we'll be talking because
they're going into the student section.
No, the students are going to move a little bit. It seems like, but. More so, it seems like a chunk of the 200 levels are going to be like,
okay.
So they're either going to go up or pay the money to go down. So make or break.
I just hope that they don't screw around with time. I don't want to see, because have they talked about when they're thinking of doing this?
Yeah. So their number one adamant thing is that they're not going to leave Jersey Mike's Arena for any type of renovations. They're going to stay in Jersey Mike's, play through it.
Awesome.
There's going to be some stuff, I'm sure, that are they're probably going to have to close off a section or something like that and be like, hey, don't go here today. We're doing this.
Yep.
But it is a lot of work. So
wouldn't that be the worst timing in the world? Like if they decided to leave next year.
I think
we're going to go to another arena while we have the best recruiting class in history of the team.
Yeah, no, I think they're smarter than that. It's going to be interesting. But speaking of that class, if you guys haven't seen, we did do an article. NBADraft.net does mock drafts up to 3 years in advance.
Okay.
Ace Bailey number 2, Dylan Harper number 3, Gavin Griffiths number 38, all in the same draft. So
very nice.
Just we'll wait and see what happens there. It should be an interesting one.
So they're expecting Griffith should be 2 and done.
Yeah, which possible if he steps it up a little bit.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, that's the thing is that we talk about this all. It's just waiting for it to happen, and then even if it happens, and when it happens, then you got the whole waiting period for the season to start, and then it's gonna go by so quick, and then they're gonna be gone. So it's just a matter of just enjoying it. That's it. Just enjoy the process of how much notoriety the program is going to get. Mm-hmm. And then you would think that it'll lead to bigger and better things. It's not. I mean, you can't have it just as a 1-season deal, and then it just goes back to the same recruiting deal. So as long as it becomes the beginning of a new recruiting run where they become a legitimate basketball program, like a top 20 team every year, then that'd be awesome. So
yeah, well, we'll see. They have the recruits to start it up, so let's see if they can maintain it.
All right, Rich, I'll look forward to wrapping up the season with you next week. The regular season next week with you with Maryland. Hopefully we'll be together after the post-game show for the bowl game at the end of December. As long as you're all around, I know I should be. Hopefully you will be as well. And then,
of course. And
then it's off to full-time basketball season for you guys. So appreciate it as always. And also thanks to our viewers. And thanks. Was it Jason that made the donation today?
I believe it was Jason. I have to go double check.
Okay. So I want to thanks Jordan. Thanks to Jordan.
Yes.
Jordan,
yes,
appreciate the $4.99. And Ignacio, thanks for reminding me about Union City, New Jersey. And we'll see you guys next